were filled with the cacophony of battle. Rifles cracked, other machine guns joined in, and mortar started dropping shells among the attackers. But the enemy kept coming. They were determined, crawling and dashing from crater to crater, hitting closer and closer. Bardon could see their faces now, their expressions grim and set. He felt a cold knot of fear in his stomach, but he pushed it down, focusing on his task. Traverse, fire, traverse, fire. It was a deadly dance. A German machine gun team set up in a large crater and opened fire, their tracers zipping past Bardon's emplacement, kicking up dirt and smacking into his sandbags. "Down!" he yelled to Miller, as he ducked lower, the bullets whining inches above his head. He had to take them out. He took a moment, located their position by the flash of their muzzle, and then gave them a long, sustained burst. The enemy gun fell silent. He felt a grim satisfaction, but there was no time for relief. More soldiers were advancing, using the suppression of their own machine gun to gain ground. One group was close, maybe less than 100 yards away, preparing to assault the line. Bardon knew this was the critical moment. He changed his aim, pouring fire directly into their path, breaking up their charge and forcing them back into cover. The battle raged for what felt like an eternity. Ammunition boxes emptied, barrels were swapped, and the ground around them became littered with spent casings. Bardon's arms ached, his ears rang, and his throat was raw from shouting. But he didn't stop. He was the anchor. He was the line. Finally, the momentum of the attack faltered. The advancing waves thinned, then broke, the survivors retreating back across the hellish landscape of no man's land. A fragile quiet returned, punctuated by the moans of the wounded on both sides. Bardon leaned back against the muddy wall of his foxhole, his body trembling with adrenaline and exhaustion. Miller gave him a weak, grime-covered grin and handed him a canteen. The water was metallic and warm, but it was the best thing Bardon had ever tasted. He looked out over the field, at the cost of holding the line. His world was still the bipod of his M1919 Browning, but now it was also the exhaustion, the relief, and the profound, sobering weight of survival. For today, they had held. And in this brutal, static war, that was everything. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing to our channel for more content like this. We appreciate your support. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating and often overlooked story from the annals of military history. A tale where ingenuity met desperation on the battlefield. We're talking about the venerable .30 caliber machine gun. Now, for anyone who knows their military hardware, the .30 cal was the workhorse, the backbone of infantry support for decades. Think of it as a sledgehammer, not a scalpel. It was a weapon of suppressive fire, designed specifically to lay down a lethal hail of bullets, to create a wall of lead that would pin down enemy infantry, forcing them to keep their heads down. Under ideal conditions, its beaten zone could stretch out to maybe 1,500 yards. But let's be clear, its effective range for any kind of aimed, pinpoint fire was a tiny fraction of that. The whole idea of using this heavy, belt-fed beast as a precision instrument to pick off a specific small target at an extreme distance was not just impractical. It was completely contrary to its entire design doctrine and training. It would be like trying to perform surgery with a baseball bat. The sights weren't made for it, the mechanics weren't designed for it, and no soldier was ever trained to do it. But war has a funny way of rewriting the rulebook. In the heat of battle, when survival is on the line, soldiers have always found incredible ways to push their equipment and themselves far beyond their intended limits. And on one particular day, in the middle of a brutal conflict, that's exactly what happened. The battle had been raging for hours, a familiar and deafening symphony of chaos. The crack of rifles, the thud of mortar, the deafening roar of artillery, it all blended into a constant nerve-shredding hum. Soldiers on both sides were dug in, A deadly stalemate where any movement could be your last. The air was thick with the smell of cordite and upturned earth. But then, by mid-afternoon, a new and ominous sound joined the familiar orchestra of war. It was a sound that was both familiar and yet utterly alien in this context. It wasn't the rapid, stuttering burst of a machine gun used for suppression. No, this was different. It was a single, deliberate shot. Crack. A pause. Then another. Crack. It was the sound of a .30 caliber machine gun being fired one. Round at From a well-concealed position high on a ridge overlooking the battlefield, a small team of soldiers had done the unthinkable. They had set up there. .30 cal, but not for suppressive fire. They were using it as a sniper rifle. This was a desperate gamble, born from a critical need to eliminate a high-value